How's it going, Patreon? Today, I want to talk about something that I pretty much gloss over for the most part in most of my tutorials because Blender kind of does the work for you. But like a lot of things in Blender, if it's doing the work for you and kind of giving you presets, you can actually go in and expound on that and make it even crazier. Today, I'm talking about keyframes and how you can make your keyframes look a lot better. So here in Blender, a lot of times I'll tell you go to the preferences in the animation and turn your keyframe interpolation to linear, or sometimes I'll say make sure you're in Bezier. And we're talking about the keyframe interpolation of the curves, specifically what's going on in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Bezier, which usually it's like that by default. So I'm going to take this circle here and I'm going to hit the keyframe on the X location. I'm going to go all the way to frame 40, and then I'm going to move them down the line, and then I'm going to click that. What that's going to do is give us an animation where it starts slow and ends slow. And what that means is it doesn't just immediately take off. It actually, if you'll notice, it's pretty subtle, but it's a slow start and a slow finish. It doesn't go, because if we can go here, and I'm just going to go ahead and clear the keyframes. We'll start it again. We'll go to the I'm going to go ahead and clear my keyframes. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back here to preferences. There's some shortcuts here, but I'm going to show you guys sort of the nooks and crannies of this. I'm going to click on linear, and we'll see the sort of the very dramatic difference between the two. And we'll go to the end here. Click that. And so linear is no start stop. You'll notice consistent motion. It's not slowing down at the end. I use those constantly because those are very friendly with looping animations. If you're starting and if it's slowing down and speeding up at the beginning of the end, then you can see when the clip stops and ends, and then it's not a loop. So that's why I primarily use them. But when it comes to motion graphics, we use Bezier constantly. And if you really get into motion graphics, you can manipulate that Bezier and really make it cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here to the preferences, and we're going to talk about these presets here in just a second. But first I want to show you what's going on. If you want to know what these little shapes are, I'm going to show you. So you see here on Bezier, you see this kind of S shape. I'll show you what that means. So we're going to go ahead, animate this, go to the very end, bring it all the way here. So we have that slow start and beginning. You'll notice, see, it's not linear. Okay. Let's go and into the animation tab, and what I'm going to have you do is I messed up here, so we'll just do it here. So I'm going to go make a new window. Your animation tab is going to have two windows when you click on animation. Right here, click on Graph Editor, and then we're just going to leave this as it is. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Make sure you have your timeline. We can see our keyframes, super important. Right over here is when you actually select what keyframe you're working with. The more keyframes you have, you'll have to select them here. We're only working with one. So now we can kind of see that S that we saw. There we go, that S curve. And what this is doing is it's saying basically a linear would not have an S. Linear would have this pink looking line just completely straight. And so you're visually seeing how fast this animation is going to go. So you can see when it's kind of straight, that's slower, and then it's speeding up here and then slowing down again, kind of like a roller coaster. So what we can actually do here is expound on that. You can take this little guy right here and pull it. Notice that we're getting a much steeper incline. The steeper the incline, the quicker the animation. So if I press play, watch the ball, it goes really quick and fast and fast. And that speed correlates with where our blue tracking thing is on this pink red line. I might be colorblind. It's got to be red, right? But it's much quicker. And then if we were to take this here and do the same thing and make that steep incline even crazier, it's going to be like a millisecond of speed. So if we go slow, right at the very end. Slow, very smooth stop. It's actually a really satisfying thing to do when you're really using it. Say you have some text and you want to make it flash across the screen. You can make it slow down at the beginning, speed up at the beginning, whatever you want to do. There we go. And right there. Now let's try something a little bit more complex. Remember, if you ever want to do this, it's called the Graph Editor, and you kind of play with the dope sheet, all that fun stuff. I'm going to go ahead and clear the keyframes, and we're going to add an extra keyframe. We're going to start here, click it there. I'm going to go to the middle here at frame 20, bring this ball to the middle, add a keyframe. We're going to go to the very end and bring the ball all the way to the end and click it. So we're still getting an S curve. So if we just watch it, slow down, speed up, all that fun stuff. But look at this. We have an extra keyframe here in the middle, and we're going to have some fun with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the little curve editor thing. I don't know what it's called here for the middle. And I'm just going to pull it this way. And I'm going to pull this one this way. So now we don't have one steep incline. We actually have two. So we can go ahead and watch the animation now. Like that. So it's really cool and really fun. So we can probably pull that over here. Pull that like that. Just so it kind of mirrors the animation. So now you can do really, really cool things like that. And let's go ahead and pull this direction, get a crazy steep incline, so we can get even more dramatic animation. It's really cool, and it kind of plays with your motion blur, which is really, really exciting. So if we're playing with text, moving text around, frame by frame animation, you can have so much fun with that. Let me just flatten out these curves here so it looks better. So that is something you can have some fun with. Say, hey, maybe I just want to kind of do that so it's not so dramatic. So maybe pull this one back, and then maybe this one over here can be, just go ahead and highlight all of them. This one over here can be a little bit more dramatic, and then this one's less dramatic. So we can play with it quick, simple resolution. Quick, simple resolution. And then we can kind of play with this one. You can really get crazy with it. So what you can do is play with your A to B. You know, starts here at A, ends at B, and you have a keyframe here in the middle, and you can play with the way it gets to from A to B and how interesting you can do that. Now, that's pretty much the lesson here. I want to show you guys the presets, though. Blender gives you some really cool presets. Back when I was first starting to do tutorials, I used them fairly often, and they're really easy to do. So I'm going to restart the animation here, go to the very end, bring this guy all the way to the end. Actually, I'm going to clear that because we need to actually play with the keyframes. So go to Edit, Preferences, back to the Animation tab, and let's play with all of this craziness. So here you can see how it says cubic, quadratic, exponential, circular. We were just creating those custom. So it's called easing. It's basically easing by strength. When we were tightening up those and making those curves more dramatic, we were playing with our easing and adding strength to them so you can see these curves. That one's a lot more dramatic. This one's less dramatic. These are different, dramatic at different levels, so you can really play with that. So they give you those presets so you don't have to actually do it yourself, which is really great. Now we have our dynamic effects. You can kind of see the motion here. So I'm going to click on elastic. That one's kind of weird. And then let's make our animation. So making sure our sphere is clicked on, keyframe, going to the very end, like that, end it. So you can see what I'm going to do here is actually give myself like 120 frames. These dynamic effects look a little bit better when there's more space to play with. That one was really crazy. So we'll go here. Let's see it now. All right, well, that one's just, the elastic, so it's going to be extremely quick, so we didn't have to do that. So that's elastic, looks like a rubber band. Did all that work for you. If you want to look at your animation, you can see what it did here. It was able to play with that elasticness, whatever. Really cool effect. Now let's go back here and redo our animation here and just kind of play with the way that is. So if we clear the keyframes, we'll go here to our preferences and try another one. I'm not going to do all of these. Let's just go here with bounce, and then back is just another one you can play with in your free time if you want to go and explore this further. Keyframe, go to the end, keyframe. This one's a little bit easier to look at. And there you go. Blender has made it easy for you to create something very interesting like that. Now let's try this, because it makes sense to do that for this particular one. Let's go here to the middle. Just trying to eyeball it here. Clear the keyframes, and we're going to go top to bottom. So we'll go up here. You probably already know where I'm going with this. Go here, go to the very end, and then I want it to stop right about there. Keyframe. Look at that. It's not realistic. You probably have to customize it a little bit more, but look at that. We now have a bouncy ball. So there you guys go. That is the second lesson for this month here on Patreon. Motion graphics like that I've used quite often. I'll show you when I used a very basic easing animation right here. I eased the back to front and the rotation. And there we go. we'll just watch it one more time. You can see how I made it look a lot more satisfying when it speeds up, slows down here from the back to the front. So you can really try to find interesting ways to use this easing, customization, all that fun stuff, and having a lot more fun with your motion graphics, animations, anything like that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.